Hey, my name's Izzy. This is Rolling Virtual Cards coming at you with another Magic the Gathering video. This time we are going over the remainder of MKM, doing the multicolor spells, the colorless spells, and the lands. Buckle in, there's a lot of legendaries to go over, so we're going to have to go over them as commanders. Alquest Prophet Master Sleuth is a white and a blue for a 3/3 legendary creature, human detective with vigilance, and when it enters the battlefield, it investigates. Then, for X, a white, a blue, and a blue, you can tap it, sacrifice a clue, and you draw X cards and you gain X life. So, let's talk. This is a 3-drop that does something on ETB, gives you a clue, allowing you to activate this ability. The following turn, you can technically activate this ability. If you have the right colors, you can just sack the clue and draw a card and gain a life. But what you're looking for here is massive amount of mana, so you can sacrifice the one clue by tapping it and draw like X being 5. Draw 5 cards, gain 5 life. That's 8 mana total. That's pretty good. So as a card within the 99 or in other formats, you're definitely looking at this like I don't see it being played in many other formats. Like, so it comes down a 3/3 vigilance, maybe in a blue-white control deck, where like, because you can do this instant speed, right? So blue-white control and like standard, I think it's slow enough for standard. That's about where it'll be. It's too slow for any other format. Maybe Pioneer, but mostly like they just standard. Clue deck, even if it's not a clue deck, he does the clue. You're controlling the field, and then eventually, like, oh, I didn't do anything in your turn. I've got the 8 mana. Let's draw 5, gain 5. That's going to make it so that I don't die. And then I can use that extra mana to make sure my opponent doesn't do anything. And you can do that in response to someone. So, like, you have 2 extra mana. Let's say it's turn 5. Or not turn 5. It's turn 8. You have 8 mana. You use 7 of it to draw 4. 3 and 4. You have to draw 4, gain 4, and then you have an extra mana to remove something. Probably 2, so maybe you just do 3 for X. Draw 3, gain 3, and you have like, oh, I counter that spell. So you have something there. I think that could be usable, actually, honestly. And as a replacement thing, like you cast another one, you're just going to get investigate again. So that's not the end of the world. So yeah, I could see it in standard. I don't think it'll hit anywhere else. I think it's a little too slow other places, but I think standard's fine. I don't think you'll... Okay, so I think in a clue deck, you'll put this in the deck. If you're running a clue deck in Commander, regardless of the commander, you're just like, yeah, let's put this guy in the deck. I can sacrifice clues to draw extra cards. With my mana, it gives you something to do in Commander if you just have too much mana. It's a good mana sink. The nice thing here we're talking about, though, is as a commander... yeah, you're just playing blue-white control. Try to get a lot of extra mana up. Sack the clue. Find other ways to... I wouldn't flicker this guy to make more clues. I would probably just run other clue cards, like the best clue cards, and then you can sack them, draw a bunch of cards, have more control pieces. Do it in response to people trying to win. And then just find a good win con in blue-white. You're drawing a lot of cards and getting a lot of life, so like Aetherflex Reservoir is going to be a good removal win con. That draws good, so anything that deals damage or gains power over drawing cards is going to be good. So overall, it's a good card. It's card advantage in the command zone and accidental life gain in the command zone, which are 2 really good things, plus it's a 3-drop. So peak commander, think it's really fun, and good in standard. Ezrim, Agency Chief. This is 1, 2 blue, or 2 green, 1, 2 white, and 2 blue for a 5/5 legendary creature, Archon Detective, with flying. And when it enters the battlefield, you investigate twice. So, and then you can pay 1 and sacrifice an artifact, and Ezrim gains your choice of Vigilance, Lifelink, or Hexproof until end of turn. So, it hits the field, it doesn't do anything, okay? But you don't want to cast it for 5. You want to cast it when you have 6 mana. This will allow you to give it protection with that Hexproof, because you can sacrifice one of your 2 clues to give it hexproof if someone tries to kill it. So because people know you can do that, they're just going to not target it unless they have 2 removal spells, in which case you're removing 2 removal spells from them, which is great. In the 99, or in other formats. A 5-drop with this much mana cost is going to be hard with this specific mana. 2 green, 2 blue, and 2 white. But in like standard, this is going to come down turn 5. You're getting 2 treasures, so even if it dies, you have 2 treasures. Maybe you do turn 6 so you can give it hexproof. The following turn, that lifelink is what you're looking at, okay? Yes, the vigilance is good if you need a blocker, but that lifelink, being able to swing in, hit them for 5 in the air and gain 5, that is a difference of 10 life. That's so strong. So strong. In a control deck, I could see that. If detectives become, like, there's not enough cards that care about detectives to really push this unless they're going to be down in this multicolor stuff. There was like 1 card I think we found that cared about detectives. But this is really useful. I think it's going to be great in standard for control decks. It's a top card. Like, this is my turn 5 spell or my turn 6. Drop it. Now I've got stuff I can do. I can continue controlling the field. I can just keep hitting you and gaining life. I'm already making clues in other ways. Maybe you're running Aliquest Prophet in your deck because he's making the he's investigating. You just keep yourself alive. I think they're both great for a nice Orzhov control deck in standard. I don't think he's gonna hit anything else. As a commander, he's okay. Hitting the 2 clues is decent. And yeah, I think that lifelink is what I like. I do like that he has hexproof. That is something I enjoy. So he has card draw because of the clues. So flickering him would be nice. I don't like flicking Aliquest because he has draw another way. But Ezreal here, I would flicker. I would flicker him after you attack and stuff to get more clues, and then you can give him more protection, that hexproof, making it so people don't want to, like, oh, what's the point of targeting him? Just always hold like 3 mana open and you make him unblockable, right? Untargetable for each turn, or 1 or 2 or something. And then on your turn, give him lifelink, hit someone, gain that 5 life. That 5 life gain is actually really nice, as you know from anyone who's played against a Traxa. Like, gaining 4 life each turn is annoying. Gaining 2 life with a Loro is annoying. Gaining 5 life each turn, that's really annoying. Plus, you're dealing the 5 damage. Someone's going to be open because someone's not going to have a flyer. So, I think this is a great card for a commander, to be fair. Because it has that card draw. Now let's continue on. This is Granite Witnesses 2. A white and a blue for a 3/2 artifact creature. Gargoyle Detective with flying and vigilance. And then disguise hybrid blue-white, blue-white. So, when it's turn faced up, you may tap or untap target creature. Okay. So, 4 for a 3/2 with flying and vigilance is not bad. Not great, but not bad. For pre-release, that's going to be fine. I love the art, by the way. Really, this art really pushes, what's the set? What's the game? Bloodborne. It really hits Bloodborne. Maybe a little less twisted, but still, it's very Bloodborne-y, and I love that detective feel. I'd love a game like this setting. But yeah, so like, that's good. And then you could play it on turn 3, turn 4, flip it, tap something, hit in for 3, still have a blocker. That's not bad. I don't think it's good enough for most sets. Again, unless there's more payoffs for disguise. Like if you're running a Jeskai deck and you've got the guy that flips, and then the one that says whenever creature flips, deal damage to an opponent. So then you can just flip Granite and just go like, oh look, you take 3 extra damage, and then I'm also going to hit you. So a Jeskai burn deck or aggro deck, something like that, could work. And being able to untap or tap something is useful. I don't think the untap is going to be as useful unless you have a really good untap effect. So I like this. It's going to be much more useful in like a disguise deck. No More Lies is the talk of the town. This is a white and a blue for an instant counter target spell unless its controller plays 3. If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it in its own graveyard. This is Spell Pierce, I believe, is the card. Let me double check. Okay, the card is Mana Leak. This is Mana Leak. This is the new Mana Leak, right? So Mana Leak has not been in Standard in a long time. It's not even in Pioneer, okay? Mana Leak is 1 and a blue counter target spell unless control pays 3. So this one's not as good. And the reason why it's not as good is because it requires that white. So you can't just run it in mono blue. It needs to have white and blue. You're playing 3 colors. It's going to be harder. So this is really good in a blue-white control deck. You counter target spell that the controller pays 3, which in a 60-card formats is usually good enough to counter. The upside, because they're like, oh, well, we made you pay white. How is this card white? If that spell is countered this way, exile it instead of putting it on its graveyard, which is really good. This is so good against, like, your Atraxa decks. Not Atraxa. Your Shieldred, mono black Shieldred decks over in Standard. Being able to just hold the No More Lies, counter that, and be like, it's gone. You're not reviving it. There's recursion. You're not getting it back to your hand. It's gone. It's exiled. I don't have to worry about it at this point. You're going to see this card everywhere there. It's not going to hit Standard. It's not going to hit Modern. Modern has too many control counter spells that are much better, but it will hit Pioneer. Watch out for this in Pioneer. Blue-White Control has a new card to play there, and I love it. I think it's great. And it's another counter spell for Blue-White Control and Commander, but you're not going to see it because it says pay 3, and why would I want you to pay 3? I mean, maybe if you're really running a counter deck, but there's just better counters in Commander. Officious Interrogation. A white and a blue for an instant. This spell costs a white and a blue more to cast for each target beyond the first. Choose any number of target players. Investigate X times, where X is the total number of creatures those players control. Okay, this is actually a good card. Okay, I don't think it's good in like 60 card formats, but it's really good. Okay, maybe it is if you're running like a blue-white control deck that runs a lot of creatures. So like, here's the you hold this card open. You didn't have to use No More Lies on their turn. So then you like have 3 creatures and you Officious Interrogation yourself, and all of a sudden you have 3 treasures. Not treasures, 3 clues, which isn't bad. But like that's like okay. It's not the best. It doesn't do much otherwise. In a clue deck or an Artifact Matters deck in Commander, being able to pay 2 and target the player who's like 6 creatures or like 10 tokens and just make 10 clues is good. That's just good. Being able to pay 4 and choose 2 players who have 6 creatures to make 12, or choose everyone for 2, 4, 6 for 8 mana. Choose everyone and make like 20 clues. And then you 20 artifacts into the battlefield, and you just deal 20 damage to each opponent, like something like that. This is a good finisher. And if you don't finish them, you have a lot of draw here. So, Private Eye is 1, a white and a blue for a 3/3 Homunculus Detective. I love Homunculuses, and this looks so cool. Other detectives you control get +1/+1. There you go. There you go. Now we've got something for detectives. If you're running a detective deck, you're running 4 of these, and the detectives are going to get buffed. Okay. When you draw your second card each turn, target detective can't be blocked this turn. Okay, now you have a detective deck. Okay, now you're looking here and you're going, oh, I want to run a detective deck in Standard. I'm going to run 4 of these Private Eyes. They're the linchpin of the entire detective deck. Let's find other detectives that are useful, because they're going to get buffed by the Private Eyes that aren't legendary, so I can get like 2 or 3 of them out of the field. And when I draw my second card, which is easy because it just requires me sacrificing the clue, which almost all the detectives come in with a clue, like this detective or that detective. This detective comes in on turn 4, and I have a clue. Or turn 3, and then you task this guy on turn 4, and then you sack the clue this guy made to draw a card, and then he attacks, and you made him unblockable, and he's a 4/4, and he's got vigilance. Like, there's a lot of good stuff to go on here. This makes the detective decks possible in Standard. I think we might see that. It also makes maybe a detective deck interesting in EDH, but that just depends on if there's any other detective cards or if there's a good detective commander. This is the one of these 2 are the closest detective commanders, but neither of them care about detectives. But they do care about clues, and detectives care about clues, so, you know. But yeah, this is what we needed for a detective. A lord for detectives with a good ability. So you'll see this in Standard. Most likely. A Concern to Kill. Again, the biggest issue with the detectives is the draw, and that's... anyway, Concern to Kill is 3, a blue and a black for an enchantment or enchant creature. You control enchanted creature. Enchanted creature has base power and toughness 1/1 and has death touch and is an assassin in addition to its other types. Okay, so like, okay, cool. You steal something they have and they're gonna go in and kill someone. If you block, like if they block them, they're gonna lose their creature and lose another creature. So, like that's not bad. It's like 5 to remove 2 creatures. That's not awful. Plus it still has activated abilities, so that's cool. Steal their commander. I don't run steal cards in commander, and I don't think it's good otherwise. So, Curious Cadaver. Although actually, Kuros to kill. Coerce to kill. Killing someone's Shieldred would be hilarious. Curious Cadaver is 2 a white, a 2 a black, a blue, and a black for a 3/1 zombie detective. Flying. When you sacrifice a clue, return it from your graveyard to your hand. That's not bad. I think that's actually pretty cool. I don't think you're going to see it much. Like, okay, so 4 for a 3/1 with flying isn't great. 4 for a 3/1 with flying that you can cast, and then, oh no, someone killed it. I'm going to get it back to my hand. It's okay in a control deck. Like, being able to constantly get it back is not bad. And in, like, a graveyard deck where you drop them in the graveyard and then you just sack a clue and you return it to your hand, that's pretty good. If you can find a discard outlet, this is good there. This is great in a discard outlet. Again, it's got that same flavor. When you sacrifice a clue, return it from your graveyard to your hand. So if you have a way to discard for a cost to do something, and then you just, oh, I have a clue, and then you sacrifice that clue for 2, and then you return like 2 or 3 or 4 cursed cadavers, that's where you're going to see this. That's what makes this good. That is why you're going to see it in Standard, maybe even in Pioneer. It is a great way to just return it to your hand. It's another detective. It can get buffed by Private Eye later on in the game. But being able to just make sure you have a discard in your hand is not bad. So now you just have to find a good thing to discard. A good discard outlet. And that's where Curious Cadaver is going to sit right there. Perfectly symmetrical. Drag the Canal is 1 and a black for an instant. Create a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token. If a creature died this turn, you gain 2 life. Surveil 2. Then investigate. Okay? So, that's not bad. So, like, in response to an opponent killing one of your creatures, you cast this, you get a 2/2. And then if a creature died this turn, you gain 2 life, you surveil 2. Then you investigate. That's a lot for 2 mana. A lot. That's a 2/2 creature, gaining life, gaining card advantage, and then getting a clue that you can then use to get more card advantage. This is fantastic. And Drag the Canal works with Curious Cadaver because you can drop it into the graveyard with its Surveil 2. So, and you're getting a detective, which works here. So I'm looking at like an Esper detective deck for Standard. Maybe even Pioneer if done right. Urda, and like maybe if there's enough, maybe an Esper commander for run what's his name? I forget his name. The one that enters the battlefield and everyone votes. That Esper commander. It's a C88 commander. Run that, but as a detective commander. That'd be fun. Urada Deadly Fugitive. This is 1 a white and a blue and a black for a 1/4 legendary creature, Vampire Assassin. So this is a legendary. It's got Death Touch. Face down creatures you control have paid 2 a white, a blue, and a black. Turn this creature face up. If you can't, exile it. Then you may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. When an assassin you control deals combat damage to an opponent, cloak the top card of that player's library. Okay. The way this works is simple. Okay. This is an assassin deck. We finally have an assassin commander. One that likes assassins. So, it has Death Touch, so no one wants to block it. It's a 1/4. You're not killing it. You're probably not trading with it. It's going to kill your creature. So, it hits you. It's an assassin. So, since the assassin hit you, you're going to go, okay, cool, I dealt combat damage to that point. We're going to cloak the top card of your library. So, we're going to put it face down on my side of the field. It's a 2/2 with Ward 2, and I can flip it up at any time for its mana cost if it's a creature. Here's the thing. Face down creatures you control have 2 white, or 2 blue, black. Turn this creature face up. If you can't exile it, then you may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. So, if the creature you stole from them is a 7-drop, you can pay 4 to flip it instead. If the creature requires different color that you have. You can pay 4 to cast it and flip it instead. If it's not a creature, you can pay 4 to exile it and cast it for free. This is a theft deck that's great, and you're running a bunch of assassins to get in, hit your opponent, steal their stuff, and cast it. I love it. I love it. I think it's great. Again, I don't run steel decks in Commander because they're not nice. And by that I mean I will play them with my friends. I will not bring them to a Friday Night Magic because people don't like it. I want to be able to play with whoever I want to, so I run casual decks there for the most part. Intermediate decks where I'm just like, steal all your stuff. That's just not fun for most people. They want to play their deck. They don't want their stuff stolen. You steal their win con or their one piece they were looking for. They get sad, and I don't want that. I want to be able to just play with people without having them get mad at me. But overall, I love this card. Now, as a 99 or as a creature that, like, I don't know, like, is in, like, a 60 card format, I don't like it. I think there's too much going on here. It's too slow. Like, it doesn't do anything on ETB. You have to swing afterwards. There's not enough assassins. I think it's just, this was meant to be a commander, and that's about it. Fairy Snoop. One a blue and a black for a 1/4 fairy detective with flying. Disguise 1 black blue hybrid. When it's turn faced up, look at the top 2 cards of your library. Put 1 in your hand and the other in your graveyard. It's okay. I mean, 3 for a 1/4 flying isn't great, and then paying 3 in the next turn, paying 3 to flip it just to look at the top 2. It's okay. I think it's a little slow. Like, comparing it to some, like, this has more niche options. It's almost like similar to Grant Witness. It's better than Grant Witness because you're getting card advantage, but like, it's okay. Like, I'd run it if I was running a Disguise deck in Commander, and that's about it. Lazav, Wary of Faces, is the other Dimir commander. This is a blue and a black for a 2/3 shapeshifter detective. When it attacks, exile target card from a graveyard, then investigate. When you sacrifice a clue, you may have Lazav become a copy of a creature card exiled with it until end of turn. Lazav, Wary of Faces is interesting. It's a good mill deck. You're going to mill your opponents into Dimir. Well, yourself, you can do a self-mill. Self-mill is going to be better because you're going to be able to choose what you want. And yes, you can transform at instant speed by sacrificing a clue. It does have card advantage because when it attacks, you exile a card from a graveyard and investigate. So, like, you do get to draw a cards each turn. I like the art. I think it's cool. I don't think it's as fun as Urda. I think Urda's more interesting, but Lazav is not bad. It's just another cool Lazav to play that's different than the other two. Hey, let's clue. Hey, let's shapeshift into the thing over there. Exile the graveyards, but you're still either self-milling, like, you're either self-milling like new Lazav, or you're milling your opponents like old Lazav. So, or both. Just mill everyone. Everyone gets milled. You get milled, she gets milled, they get milled, everyone's milled. Milling everyone. Bloodspat Analysis is a black, and yeah, I don't like it in regular 60 card formats. I think it's bad. Well, maybe not. I mean, like, it's a 2-drop for a 2/3 that makes clues every time it attacks. You could probably see it in Pioneer. Blood Spatter Analysis is a red. Oh, actually, in both Pioneer and Standard, this could be usable because, like, it can become big. Like, you exile the Curious Cadaver, and now it's a 3/1. And it's until end of turn, which is cool because then, like, at the end of turn it flips. So, like, yeah, as long as you're filling your graveyard, make it become Private Eye, buff all your creatures and stuff, and, like, you can make it do that the next turn as well. Like, yeah, it's detective as well. I like it in a detective deck, actually. The Esper detective deck that I'm randomly making for Pioneer or Modern, not Modern, Pioneer or Standard. But Blood Splatter Analysis is a black and a red for enchantment. These are the Rakdos cards. When Blood Splatter Analysis enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to target creature and opponent controls. When 1 or more creatures die, mill a card and put a Bloodstain counter on Bloodstain Analysis. Then sacrifice it if it has 5 or more Bloodstain counters on it. When you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Okay. So this enters the battlefield and is a 2-drop that just removes something. So this has got the same cost basically as Spark or a Shock, right? 2 for 3 damage, but you can only hit target creature and opponent controls. Then when one or more creatures dies, you're milling a card and putting a blessed counter. So if you want to fill your graveyard up, this is a fine way to do that. Just slowly, like, pinging, destroying, killing your opponent's creatures, controlling the field, and then this guy dies, and you return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And, like, you've been controlling the field, you've been mid-ranging, and then all of a sudden you get a creature back to your hand and you can cast it. So, like, I don't mind this. I think it's fine for standard. That's about it. Deadly Complication is 1, a black and a red for a sorcery. Choose one or both. Destroy target creature. Put a 1/1 counter on target suspected creature you control. You may have it become no longer suspected. That's not bad. It's murder, because you get to destroy target creature. It's murder at sorcery speed, mind you. But also, putting a 1/1 counter on one of your suspect creatures isn't bad if you have, like, a good suspect creature that you're running in your deck. It gets slightly bigger. I don't think it's going to see much play anywhere, honestly. Judith is your first commander here. Judith, Carnage Connoisseur, is 3, a black and a red for a 3/4 legendary creature, human shaman. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, choose one. That spell gains Death Touch and Lifelink. Create a 2/2 red imp creature token with, when this creature dies, it deals 2 damage to each opponent. Cool. I'm wondering if there's a way to break that. Probably. Give me what's... Okay, I'm not seeing any combos out there that actually work with Judith. I was thinking something like, because you cast an instant sorcery, it's not once per turn, you make a 2/2. If there is a buyback spell that you could do for 2, and then you could sack the imp for 2, and you could buy back the spell, something like that, some ridiculous over-the-top combo. Maybe someone will find it at some point. The main thing is that spell gains Death Touch and Lifelink, means you can run the deal 1 damage to each opponent you control, or to each creature your opponents control, and that'll just kill them all and game you like 10 life. And then on the off chance, you can make 2/2s, and the 2/2s will deal damage to your opponents. This is a very gross control mid-range commander, right up my alley. I love this. This is mid-range control aggro. It's all 3 somehow, and which means it's just pure mid-range. This is mid-range, the commander. Okay, turn to your 1 slots and your deal 1 damages to Death Touches and gaining you life. Your volleys that deal damage to each creature target opponent controls into like 5 damage and killing everything. Turning your other instants and sorceries that you're using that just draw you cards into like 2/2 imps that when they die, each opponent loses. This is great. This is a fantastic commander. Play it. I love it. Rakdos, Rakdos, Patron of Chaos, is 4, a black and a red. I don't think you'll see this many other places. It's pretty good. I mean, like, as a 5-drop in a Rakdos deck in Standard, this hits, doesn't do anything. If it survives till next turn, now you're, like, able to volley your opponents. There's probably cards that do it. Make 2/2s. This will go out of control if you can find a way to make it in Standard. But Rakdos Patron of Chaos is a 6-drop for a 6/6 demon, flying and trample. At the beginning of your end step, target opponent may sacrifice 2 non-land, non-token permanents. If they don't, you draw 2 cards. Okay, I like this. I think this is fun. It's only at your end step, and you target an opponent may sacrifice 2 non-land, non-token permanents. If they don't, you draw 2 cards. So you choose someone who's behind, and they're like, well, I don't want to be behind. You can draw 2 cards. Okay, otherwise you're going to make them sack 2 things. You're probably playing this to draw cards. You're just going to run control pieces. It's going to be like Judith, except instead of like these fun things, you're just drawing cards off of him, which is better. Which is better. And it's a 6/6 with flying and trample. I think it's another fun commander. Like, you build this deck, you're just going to play Rakdos good stuff. Clear their fields, they don't have anything. Hey, target you. You don't have anything. I'm going to draw 2 cards. Fair. And then you're just hitting people with a flying trampler. Like, what's not to like? It's Rakdos. The art is amazing. I love both of them. They're both fantastic commanders. I don't see it playing on another... Well, actually, dropping this card on turn 6 in Standard. Boom, here's my 6/6. And hey, by the way, sacrifice 2 things or let me draw 2 cards. And they're going to be like, well, you can draw 2 things. And then they're going to hope they kill Rakdos before 6/6 Trampler comes flying at you. Rune Brand Juggler is a black and a red for a 2/2 human shaman. When it enters the battlefield, suspect up to 1 target creature you control, which could be itself. 3 black, red, sacrifice a suspected creature. Target creature gets -5/-5 till end turn. That's just too expensive to trigger. Like late game, I don't like it. I think this is just a little too slow here. Shady Informant's 3 black and a red for a 4/2 Ogre Rogue. When it dies, it deals 2 damage to any target, and then it's got Disguise. You can pay it for 3 and then pay it for 4 the following turn. So if you want it out an extra turn, you can do that. 2 damage to any target means people don't want to kill it. That's kind of a cool thing. Like, it's a 4/2. Oh, you killed it, I'm going to deal 2 damage to that thing. Now you lost that too. So you -2 to my 1. 2-1 it. So that's not bad. The talk of the town, the Mold God. Ansrag, the Quake Mole, is 2 a red and a white, or 2 a red and a green for an 8/5 legendary creature Mold God. When it becomes blocked, untap each creature you control. After this combat phase, there is an additional combat phase, and for 3 red, green, green, it must be blocked this turn. Each combat this turn if able. So, how does this commander work? Why is everyone afraid of it? Why did the commander group apparently already talk about banning it outright? Well, they're afraid. It's a 4-drop for an 8/4 with upsides. That's a lot. I don't think it's broken. Trust me, I've built the deck, even casually. What this is going to do is it's just going to come out, and then, oh, I'm going to have to put this equipment on it, or this aura on it to make it indestructible. Or, to make it indestructible. Otherwise, it will die. Okay? Because it'll be blocked infinitely, right? Then you want to put the creature or the equipment or the aura that says if this you can have this creature deals combat damage to your opponent's controller instead of the creature. So then it comes in and just goes attack. Then you trigger its effect, making everyone block it, or you have another equipment or enchantment or something that forces it to be blocked, and everyone has it. All 3 of your opponents have a creature. And you go, pew, pew, oh, I hit you, but I don't kill your creature, and you must block it, so boom, 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 you die, and then you die, and then you die. That is like 13 hoops you have to jump through. First, your 4-drop commander has to hit the field, and last, a rotation, minimum. Next, you need an equipment, aura, or creature that allows it to have indestructible. Following, you need to have a card on the field that there's like 5 of, maybe, that says if this creature would you can have this creature assign combat damage to its opponent instead of the creature. Then you need to have 7 mana to activate its effect. Like, okay, so you don't play it right away. You put boots out there. You put the equipment out there. You get the creature out there. You have like the mana. You've got 4 and 7, you got 11 mana because you're ramping. Boom, it's out. Swing, I win. It still dies to removal. All the other parts die to removal. You remove the indestructible and maybe one person dies, but then it runs out of its 4 toughness because like 4 1/1s blocked it. Or the same 1/1 blocked it 4 times. Like, yeah, you're not going to win with this like you think you are. I think it's a very strong Gruul deck, which I wanted. It's not CEDH level strong. It doesn't draw you cards. It's not going to go infinite. It's just a fun commander. Plus, it's a Mole God, okay? Leave him be. He's just fun. He's not even that strong. Breakout is, and I don't think you'll see it many other places. I mean, maybe standard, but I doubt it. Breakout is a red and a green for a sorcery. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them. If that card has mana value 2 or less, you may put it on the battlefield and it gains haste until end of turn. If you didn't put the revealed card on the battlefield this way, put it in your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in a random order. This is great. It's just good. I think this will see play in like standard and maybe Pioneer. I could even see maybe Modern. Being able to look at the top 6 and just go, here's my 2-drop. Here's my Ragavan onto the field. Like, it's good for Gruul stuff. I think any Gruul low power low mana deck is gonna like this. Rift Busts Helion is 5 a red and a green for a 6/7 Helion with reach, disguise, 4 and hybrid blue white, blue, red, blue, sorry, red, green, red, green. Yeah, I mean, you can either pay a 7 for a 6/7 with reach, or pay 3 and then pay 6. I don't, it's not good. 10 Street Gossip is 2, a red, and a green for a 4/4 Vicino Advisor. It's got vigilance, and you can tap it to add a red and a green. Spend this mana only to cast face down spells, or to turn creatures face up. This will be ran in face down decks. That's it. That's all you're going to see, and it's a 4-drop, so only in Commander, probably. World Soul's Rage. Okay. World Soul's Rage is X, a red, and a green for a sorcery. World Soul's Rage deals X damage to any target. Put up to X land cards from your hand and or graveyard onto the battlefield tapped. I like this. I think this is good. I think you'll see this in Commander a lot, because you can deal a mass amount of damage to an opponent, a creature, or a planeswalker. And then you can just drop like 3 lands from your hand and or graveyard if you're running your fetches or your cheap fetches. Not bad. I don't know if you'll see it anywhere else, but I know you'll see it in Commander. And then the next commander for Gruul is Yaris, Roar of the Gods. 2 red, green for a 4/4 Centaur Druid. Other creatures you control have haste. Whenever one or more face-down creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, draw a card. Whenever a face-down creature you control dies, return it to the battlefield face-down under its owner's control. If it's a permanent card, then turn it face-up. So this is simple. This is your flip deck. This works not just with Disguise, but this is also going to work with any of the other ones, like the Morph and the Megamorph cards. And yeah, they'll all have haste. You can just keep swinging with them. If they don't block, I draw a card. If you do block, it flips. Like it dies, then it comes back and flips. So it has a flip effect that'll trigger. If it doesn't have a flip effect, it'll just be flipped face up and be cool. This is a fun flip commander. It's not great. It's just fun, and that's where I'll stick with it. I don't think you're going to see it. Maybe, actually, I think you could see this in Standard, because this comes down turn 4, and then turn 5, you just drop for 3, you drop 1, it takes, it flies in, you're just going to swing with it. Oh, you don't block it, I'm going to draw a card. You do block it, comes out, right? And then you just do that again, and you just keep swinging these Disguise creatures at people. That I could see with Yaris. I could see a Yaris Standard deck with flipping, with Disguise. Buried in the Garden, 2 green, white for an enchantment or enchant land. When buried in the garden to the battlefield, exile target non-land permanent you don't control until buried in the land. Until buried in the garden leaves the battlefield. When an enchanted land is tapped for mana, its controller adds an additional mana of any color. So this is just decent. Like, it hits the field, you go, I exile the cards you have. Also, my mana taps for double. Not bad. It does 2 things that other things used to do. So ramp and removal, maybe Standard will like it. I think that's about it. Or like if you're looking for an Enchantress card, this isn't bad. Crowd Control Warden is 3 green, white for a 4/4 Centaur Soldier. Enters the battlefield or is turned face up. Put X/1/1 counters on it, where X is the number of other creatures you control. Disguise. So you can either pay for 5 or you can pay 3 and then flip it for 5. You're looking more as a sneak attack there. Oh, I'm not going to block your 2/2. And then you flip it for 5 and it gets big. That is kind of the point here. Like, it gets big all of a sudden, which isn't bad. Like, if you got 5 creatures, it's a 9/9. If you got 3 creatures, it's a 7/7. I don't blame it. I think it's kind of slow, though. It'll probably be pretty good in pre-release. Reveal the Past. 5 green, white for a sorcery. Return up to 1 target artifact card, up to 1 target land card, up to 1 target non-aura enchantment card from your graveyard to the battlefield. They are 5/5 elemental creature tokens creatures in addition to their other types. That's not bad. 7 mana, you're getting an artifact, a land, and an enchantment. All as 5/5. So that's 15 damage out on the field. I could see that even as like a control piece finisher in Standard, where like it drops and you're like, here's my 5/5s, and you pass the turn hoping that you can win the next turn. But like in Commander, you'll see this. It's a good way to revive 3 things. Samala Sentry is a green and a white for a 1/3 elf archer. Reach. Whenever a face down permanent you control is turned face up, put a 1/1 counter on it, and a 1/1 counter on Solar Sentry. Again, that's good for a flip deck. That's about it. I wouldn't really run it anywhere else, and I don't think there's many flip decks running, and that's you're doing this, and then like what are you playing Naya flip in standard? Maybe. Talismere Midnight's Light is 2, a green, white for a 3/2 Elf Scout. I love Talismere. This is a cool commander. Okay, so it's got lifelink. When it enters the battlefield, create Voja, Fiendstalker, a legendary 5/5 green and white wolf creature token with trample. This guy right here. When a wolf you control attacks, if Talismere attack this combat, target creature an opponent controls blocks that wolf this combat Fable. So if you get him out, and then the following turn when you attack, you can be like, hey, you must block Volja Fiendstalker. Okay, you have to block it because it's a wolf. So it's got to be blocked, and then they block it. He's got trample. He just kills their creature, and then you get in and gain 3 life off of him attacking because they only had 1 creature to block. It's cool as a Voltron commander because you're just going to buff him and then also have your wolf buddy with you. It's also just kind of good as a wolf commander, but not as good as his mid one, I think it is. The one that likes wolves and gives you life gain. I built that one. That one's fun. This one's just interesting. I kind of like it just as a Voltron deck. Plus, it gives you a creature you can sack off if someone tries to make you sack stuff. Tristani, 3 Whispers. I like that we're getting Tristani again. This is a green, a hybrid green-white, and a white. I actually clicked that, sorry. For a 4/4 Dryad. 1 and a white, target creature gains Death Touch until end of turn. White and or green, target creature gains Vigilance until end of turn. 2 and a white, target creature gains Double Strike until end of turn. So, for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana, you can make this a 4/4 with Death Touch, Vigilance, and Double Strike, okay? It has a way to give itself Double Strike, which means it can be a Voltron, just get to 11 with auras, and you can one-shot someone. With Vigilance, it can be blocked. It doesn't have a way to give itself Hexproof, which I don't like. I mean, I get why they didn't do that. In and out of itself, it's an okay commander. I like it more in the 90 and standard, because it's a 3-drop that comes down, and you can just give stuff Double Strike or Death Touch or Vigilance. That's pretty good in standard, to be fair. Whereas in Commander, you're really it's not bad if you run a lot of stuff with First Strike, but the best thing here is that Double Strike. Running that and running creatures that combat damage triggers, put that on them, and then give them Death Touch so that they don't want to be blocked. And yeah, it's not bad. You can use it as defensive too. So I know there's ways to do this, but I think the main thing is that Double Strike to double trigger. I don't like this in 60 card formats anyways. Okay, Kaya Justice, or Spirit's Justice, is 2 a white and a black for a 3 loyalty Kaya. When 1 or more creatures you control and or creature cards in your graveyard are put into exile, you may choose a creature card from among them. Until end of turn, target token you control becomes a copy of it, except it has fly. Pay 2, surveil 2. Then exile a card from a graveyard. +1, create a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying. -2, exile target creature you control. For each other player, exile up to 1 other target creature that player controls. So this all, like a lot of the planeswalkers nowadays, it all focuses around itself. It all works. So you +1 it to get the spirit, and then you can +2 to surveil 2, and then exile a card from your graveyard. And when 1 or more creatures you control and or creature cards in your graveyard are put into exile, you can choose a creature card from among them. Until end of turn, target token you control becomes a copy, except it has flying. So that 1/1 spirit becomes a copy of whatever card you exiled. So that thing you exiled after surveil 2, exile a card from your graveyard, that thing that has a great ETB attack, or a great attack trigger, or a great combat trigger, boom, you hit them. That's great. Its -2 is just hey, I need to choose the thing that it becomes. So you exile the creature you want it to become, but it also is removal because you exile 1 for each opponent. I think it's a pretty good Kaya. I like it. I don't see it being played in most 60 card formats, although to be fair, it's got card advantage and a way to make a spirit. Dropping the star, making a spirit for a blocker. Next turn, making a spirit. I could see it in standard. Sanguine Saver is 1 a white, and a black for a 2/1 Vampire Cleric with flying and lifelink. Disguise, white, black, white, black. When it's turn face up, another target creature you control gains lifelink until a turn. That's fine. I mean, playing it turn 3 and then the next turn flipping it, giving something lifelink to 2/1 with flying and lifelink. I could see that. It's okay. I like it in... I don't know if I love it in Standard, but I do like it pre-release. Soul Search is a white and a black. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it. Exile that card. If the card's mono value was 1 or less, create a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying. I like this in Standard. I think it's fun. Having a way to just rip something out of your opponent's hand is good. Making it so that it's just a non-land card is fine. And then if it's cheap, being able to make a 1/1 is not bad either. First legendary is Teysa, Opulent Oligarch. 1, a white and a black for a 2/3 human advisor. Death Touch. At the beginning of your end step, investigate for each opponent who lost life this turn. When a clue you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, create a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying. This ability triggers only once each turn. I've built this card. I tried to make it CEDH. It doesn't work CEDH wise. It works a lot more as high power or like even intermediate. The idea is you can slow the game down, run cards that deal like 1 damage to each opponent each turn, and all of a sudden, oh look, I'm going to investigate 3, and then you sack the clues on each person's turn. So that's, you get 3 clues off of it. So that's 3, you do it on each of your opponent's turns, making 3 1/1s, and you just kind of cycle this, like, deal some 1 damage to each people. You gain life, each opponent loses life, stuff like that, and you just cycle this, they lose life, then sack the clues on their turns for 2 each, which is a 6, get 3 1/1s, have the 1/1s as blockers or attack. It's interesting, I like it, I think it's a fun mid-range, kind of like, here's your cycle, go, go, go. In Commander, or out of Commander, I think it's fine, like turn 3 hits. If you made your opponent lose life that turn, you're going to get a 1/1, you're going to get a clue, and then you can sack that clue to get a 1/1, and then that 1/1 hits your opponent, because there's a flying, and the 1/1s will just keep on coming, which I think is fine. And if you sack a clue on both your turn and their turn, because you're running a clue deck, you get 2 1/1s, so this could roll out as a clue, a piece in a clue deck in Standard. Atomic Wielder of Law, 1 white black for a 2/4 human advisor. Affinity for planeswalkers. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each planeswalker you control. So if you have a planeswalker on the field, it costs 1 less. Yay. Flying and Vigilance. Whenever an opponent attacks with a creature, if 2 or more of those creatures are attacking you and or a planeswalker you control, that opponent loses 3 life and you draw a card. This is a Pillow Fort deck. Here's a Pillow Fort Commander. Say hello to new Pillow Fort Commander. How does this work? You run planeswalkers and you cast him for less. The cool thing is the affinity will work, I believe, with your commander cost. So if it dies and it costs 3 and you have 3 planeswalkers, it'll still just cost a white and a black, which is where the affinity for planeswalker actually does something. Okay, outside of commander in 60 card formats, if an opponent decides to attack you with 2 creatures, they're gonna lose 3 life and you're gonna draw a card. So that's not bad. I don't mind that in a control deck. You might sideboard it out if your opponent's only attacking with 1 creature, but if they're attacking with 2, like, Damage is pretty bad, and it's a 2/4, so that's a pretty good blocker, plus it has Vigilance. I like this in Standard. I also might like this in Pioneer. I think that's about where I stop. But as a commander, I actually really like him. I like Pillow Fort Commanders. This just says, don't mess with me. I'm doing my own thing. Leave me alone. Here's my Planeswalkers. Don't hurt my Planeswalkers. If you do, only 1 creature. So, I think it's fun. So, yeah, that's about where I'm at with that. Treacherous Greed is 1, a white and a black, and for an instant, as an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature that dealt damage this turn. Draw 3 cards, each opponent loses 3 life, you gain 3 life. Okay, this is insane. You, as an additional cost for this spell, sacrifice a creature that dealt damage this turn, okay? So, like, you attack someone with your 1/1 spirit, it dealt damage, cast this, sack it, draw 3, each opponent loses 3, you gain 3. This is going to become a staple in Commander. instantly. Any deck that runs this, that is a 3 to draw 3, gain 3, and make your opponents lose 3 life, which is a total 9 life loss there, okay? All you have to do is hit someone with a creature. A token. Anything. Sack it and draw some cards. That is really strong, and I think you'll also see this in Standard, maybe Pioneer. I could even see this in, like, Modern as, like, a decent way to draw some cards, okay? Like, I like this card. I think it's very strong. Wisp Drinker Vampire is 2 white and a black for a 2/4 Vampire Rogue. Whenever another creature with power 2 or less enters the battlefield under your control, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. Okay, so you got the aristocrat feeling. 5 white, black creatures you control with power 2 or less gain death touch and lifelink until they're done. Okay, I love this card for my Alicia Who Smiles at Death deck because it's 2 power, so it can come out. The other creatures that hit the field with her are going to drain my opponents and gain me life. And then for 7, giving all my creatures death touch and lifelink is great. So I like this. I even like this in, like, for white weenie decks in Standard, because you're going to be, it comes down turn 4, and the next turn, here's a bunch of 1-drops, 1/2, like, turn 5, you go 2 1-drops, or 1-drop and 2 2-drops, they lose 3, you gain 3, and then the next turn, you, like, cast some more, and by turn 7, you're just like, oh, look, all my little guys, they're all death touch lifelinkers. Attack. Even if you block, you're going to lose your creature, and I'm going to gain life, so I like that. Detective Satchel is a very strong card, in my opinion. 2 blue, red, it enters the battlefield, you investigate twice. You tap it, create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying, activate only if you sacrifice an artifact this turn. This is great with Anvil. Anvil in Modern is too fast, but I think an Anvil deck could be made in Pioneer with this. Because the way this works as a nice engine is that Detective Satchel comes in, you get these 2 nice clues. Anvil allows you to sacrifice one of the clues so that you can make a creature, make your opponents lose life, and then you can tap this since you sacrificed a clue, since you sacrificed an artifact, and make a Thopter, and then you can keep doing that constantly. I like it. I think like a Grixis Anvil artifact deck would be super cool. Other than that, I like it in a lot of places. Anywhere, like, this is also just good in Standard, because it hits the field, and then you sacrifice the clue, and then make a 1/1. Like, sacrificing clues make you 1/1s, and this is also just good in Commander. If you're sacrificing clues, make a 1/1. Why not? It doesn't hurt. It draws you 2 cards. It's a good card. Gadget Technician is 2 a blue and a red for a 3/2 Goblin Artificer. The Gadget Technician enters the battlefield or is turned face up. Create a 1/1 colorless Thopter artifact creature token with flying. Disguise, hybrid, blue-red, blue-red. So it's a 4-drop for a 3/2 that comes with a 1/1 flying. That's not bad, and you can flip it 3 and then 2. It's okay. I don't think it's great. Gleaming Gear Drake is blue and a red for a 1/1 artifact creature Drake with flying. When it enters the battlefield, you investigate. And whenever you sacrifice an artifact, put a 1/1 counter on Gleaming Gear Drake. I like that in any sacrifice artifact in Commander. Maybe the clue deck in, like, a clue deck in Standard could use this. Like, it comes down and it gets bigger, but it dies to removal so easily and has to take time to build, and so I don't love it. Ill-Timed Explosions, 2 a white, 2 a blue and a red for a sorcery. Draw 2 cards, then you may discard 2 cards. When you do, Ill-Timed Explosion deals X damage to each creature, where X is the greatest mana value of cards you discard this way. So for 4, you draw 2, discard 2, and then you blow the field up. So it's a board wipe that draws you cards. I don't know. It's not bad. I like that, actually. It's a decent board wipe. If you need a board wipe in your Standard deck, there you go. If you need a board wipe in your Izzet deck, there you go. Kylox's Vault Strider is 1 blue and a red for a 4/4 artifact vehicle. Collect evidence 6. It becomes an artifact creature till end of turn. When it attacks, you may cast an instant sorcery card from among cards exiled with it. If that spell would be put into the graveyard, put it in the bottom of your library instead. Crew 2. That's not bad. A 4/4, being able to collect evidence and then just go like, I'm going to cast a spell without casting its mana cost is actually pretty good. Oh no, you can cast instant sorceries. You can cast and instant sorcery. Okay, so you do have to pay its mana, which is fine. It is a mythic, so it's meant to be pushed. Like, okay, I don't think it's gonna be pushed as much as you think. I think it's fine, because you need cards in your graveyard. So like, even in a deck for standard, like if you're like casting spells and then you drop this card turn 3 and you're like, cool, next turn crew it by exiling these like 3 2-drops, a swing. With my 4/4, that's not bad. You attack with your 4/4, and then you can go like, and I'll cast shock. Like, I could see it being useful. I think it might get somewhere. It's harder to kill because it's not a creature at all times, but you know, maybe. The first commander is Kylox, Visionary Inventor. It is a vision. I love it. This is his invention. But 5, a blue, and a red for a 4/4 Vishino Artificer. Menace, Ward 2, Haste. So it can attack right away, hard to block, and hard to kill. When it attacks, sacrifice any number of other creatures. Then exile the top X cards of your library, where X is their total power. You may cast any number of instant sorcery spells from among the exiled cards without paying their mana cost. This is fun. It's a 7-drop, though. It does something instantly, though. So you fill the field with creatures. Then you attack, and you sacrifice any number of other creatures. And you get to look at the top X, where X is the total mana, and cast any number of instant sorceries. But this means you have to balance instant sorceries with the creatures, or just run a bunch of instant sorceries that make tokens. That's what I would suggest. And then make a bunch of more, and sack them all off to do more. Like, why not? It sounds fun. This is just kind of a loop. It's cool. The card looks cool. Have fun, guys. Don't run this outside of Commander. Just 7-drop. Malik, Reforged Researcher, is 3, a blue and a red for a star legendary creature, Weird Detective. Malik, Reforged Researcher's power and toughness are each equal to twice the number of instant sorcery cards in your graveyard. The first instant sorcery spell you cast each turn costs 3 less to cast. You're running a bunch of instances, casting big ones that cost 3 less. X spells are great that are like, hey, 1 and 2 and an X, and draw X cards. Cool, let's just draw 3 cards for 2 blue. And then as you do it, it gets bigger and bigger. I think it's great. It plays itself. Just run a lot of instances. Because, yes, you can run sorceries, but you can't cast them at its speed. And it's the first spell you cast each turn, which means your opponent's turn. So, run a bunch. You'll like it. Don't run anywhere else. Assassin's Trophy was reprinted. Cool. I like that Assassin's Trophy was reprinted. I like it in Standard. I think it's fine because it gives them a basic land, and I need it to be cheaper. Insidious Root, a black and a green for an enchantment. Creature tokens you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. Whenever 1 or more creature cards leave your graveyard, create a 0/1 plant creature token, then put a 1/1 counter on each plant you control. This is great. It's absolutely fantastic. I love it in any deck that are running tokens that also like graveyard stuff. So I think this will see play in a lot of graveyard recursion. Those black creature cards that just recur themselves. Oh look, it left the graveyard. Get a 0/1 plant. Get the plants bigger. All those plants can tap for mana. Cool. It plays itself. If you have stuff like that, like this, works well with the black-blue zombie detective up there. Shoop. This guy. Because it can return to your hand when you sack a clue. Which, if this card's on the field, you'll get a 0/1. And then it'll become a 1/2. And, like, if you can keep discarding it and keep sacking clues, that'll just trigger a bunch. And that's insane. That could be very good. Izona. Oh, we only got 1 legendary for them? Okay. Izoni, Center of the Web, is 4 black, green for a 5/4 elf detective. Menace, when it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may collect evidence 4. If you do, create a 2/1 black and green spider creature token with Menace and Reach. Sacrifice 4 tokens, surveil 2, then draw 2, then gain 2. Okay, so this is interesting. So it does its own thing. So it hits the field after 6. Next turn you attack. You exile 4. You exile 4 mana from your graveyard. You make 2 black tokens. The next turn you do it again. You make 2 more 2/1 black green spiders with Menace and Reach. Then you pay 4 and sack them to surveil 2, then draw 2 cards, then gain 2 life. Run a lot of tokens, sack those tokens, keep the 2/1 black creature token, Menace Reachers, because those are going to be great to attack with. I think it's fun. It's a good card advantage. Just sacking the tokens to surveil 2, draw 2, gain 2 is not bad. That's a good effect. So I like him. I think his 6 is the scary part there, but I don't like him anywhere else but Commander as Commander. Crawl, Whip Crack is a black and a green for a 3/2 Insect Assassin with reach, and when it enters the battlefield, destroy target and token an opponent controls. It's maybe if tokens become a problem, but I don't want to pop a clue. That doesn't do anything. Rakish Scoundrel is 2 black green for a 3/3 Elf Rogue with Death Touch, and when Rakish Scoundrel enters the battlefield or is turned face up, target creature gains indestructible in a turn, and you can pay 3, or it's 4 hybrid black green to flip it. I don't care. It's slow. Urgent Necropsy is 2 black green for an instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, collect evidence X, where X is the total mana value of the permanents this spell targets. Collect evidence X, where X is the total mana cost. Okay. Destroy up to 1 target artifact, up to 1 target creature, up to 1 target enchantment, up to 1 target planeswalker. Okay, so yeah, this is so you pop an artifact, creature, enchantment, planeswalker, up to those, up to 1, which means you could just destroy an artifact for 4. But if you hit all 4, they're all 3, you have to also excavate, or you also have to collect evidence. They were all 3 drops and they're 4, and that's 12. You'd have to excavate 12. So that's a lot. I don't like it. I think it's asking too much. There's too much math to go around with it. I'm just not going to play it. Although, if you are playing a graveyard deck, you could probably do it pretty easily. Yeah, I'm surprised that we only got 1 legendary in those. Okay. Orgaz cost Spirit of Justice is 2 a red and a white for a 2/5 Spirit Detective. Double Strike Vigilance, and when it enters the battlefield or attack, choose up to 1 target creature. If it's suspected, exile it. Otherwise, suspected. So, this is cool. It's a 2/5 with Double Strike and Vigilance, so it hits the field, doesn't do anything. Oh, enters the battlefield. You can choose a target creature and suspect it. So, you can suspect yourself to give yourself menace. That's not bad. I'm fine with that. Okay, let's suspect it. I'm not blocking with it. And now I got menace, right? But it's got Vigilance, so you kind of want to be able to block with it. So let's say you choose an opponent's creature. Then, if it's suspected, exile it. Otherwise, so then, next turn you attack, you can just choose the suspected creature and pop it. Or exile it. Boom, it's exiled. Then the next turn you attack attack. You're like, haha, choose that suspect card. The next time you attack, boom, that suspect, it's gone. The cool thing is if you run ways to flicker it, you can flicker it on your instep, like with Door. I forget the rest of the name of that, but the Door, Conjurer's Closet. Flicker it, it comes in, suspect, on your turn, swing, pop the suspect. So that's kind of cool. You can flicker it a bunch of times to suspect a lot of things, but you only need to do it 1 at a time because you only get the 1 attack. Other than that, it's got Double Strike, which is cool. Give it like equipment that can trigger off combat, like swords would be good because it got Double Strike. I like it. I think it's interesting. Aurelia, the Law Above, 3 red, white for a 4/4 Angel, flying, Vigilance, haste. Actually, this card's not bad in like other formats either because it hits the field and it's a pretty cool card. When a player attacks with 3 or more creatures, you draw a card. Whenever a player attacks with 5 or more creatures, it deals 3 damage to each opponent and you gain 3 life. So this is not bad. It's a very good high drop for white weenies because it drops on 5. It swings, and then as long as you have 2 other creatures, you're drawing a card. If you have 4 other creatures, you're gonna draw a card and deal 3 damage to each opponent and gain 3 life. I like this as Commander 2. It's just swing the deck. Swing with a lot of things. If your opponent swings, stuff happens too. Oh, you're attacking with 3 creatures? I draw a card. Oh, you're attacking with 5 creatures? I'm going to deal 3 damage because it's whenever a player attacks. So I like this. It really pushes people to be less violent, but you to be more violent. So, I'm the Law Above. Dogwalker is red and a white for a 3/1 human citizen with Vigilance. When it's turn face up, create 2 tapped 1/1 white dog creature tokens. That's fine. I mean, like, turn 3 and then turn 4 you flip it. You get 2. It's okay. I don't love it. A Lightning Helix was reprinted into Standard. I like that. I think that's great. I think it was already in Pioneer. Was it in Pioneer? Oh, wait. I can just click on it. Yeah, it was already in Pioneer. That's cool. I like it. I think it's a good card. I like it in Standard. Good way to gain life and hurt people. You'll see it be played. It's played in freaking Modern, so... Melding Youths is 3 a red and a white for a 5/4 human detective with haste, and whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, investigate. Cool, this just kind of works in that, like, Aurelia swing with stuff deck, but it's a 5-drop, and I'd rather just run Aurelia, so I'm not playing that. But I will play this in a commander deck that wants to attack with it as the commander. Warlord's Call is 1 red, white for an enchantment. Creatures you control get +1/+1, and whenever a creature enters the battlefield under you control, Warlord's Call deals 1 damage to each opponent. That's going to see play in Commander. Just simply, it's an Anthem effect, and it deals damage, not carrying tokens into the field. And you'll see it in Command or in Standard, because it's a great way to, again, Anthem your white weenies and give you a way to hurt your opponent if you can't attack them. Doppelganger. This card is disgusting. 3x. Green, blue, sorcery. For each of X target permanents, create X tokens that are copies of the permanents. Okay. Simply put, I will explain this. If X is 1, so 1, 1, 1, 3 generic, blue, green, or green, blue, you target a creature, you make a copy of it. That's 5. Okay? 5 total. If X is 2, meaning 6 generic, green, blue, you choose 2 permanents, different permanents, that guy and that guy, and you make 2 copies of both of them. 2 copies of this guy, 2 copies of that guy. If X is 3, meaning 9 generic, a green and a blue, you choose 3 creatures, okay, 3 permanents, that token, that creature, that land, and you make 3 of, or that artifact, that creature, that land, you make 3 of those artifacts, 3 of those creatures, 3 of that land. And so forth and so on. Doppelganger is gross. It's a really good payoff. You can use this to totally get great ETB effects. I love it. It's a fun card, okay? And it says permanent, which is so fun. You could target 3 different lands for 9 generic green, blue, and like just make 9 extra lands. They don't come in tapped, by the way. Evidence, I think it's just commander, by the way. Evidence Examiner is a green and a blue for a 2/2 Merfolk Detective. At the beginning of combat in your turn, you may collect evidence 4. Whenever you collect evidence, investigate. If there's a decent collect evidence deck, this will see play in it. I don't know if there will be. Commander will definitely use this for any collect evidence deck, but it will see play in like Standard if there's a collect evidence deck. We're at the last page. I just wanted to see how many more. Okay, we're almost there. I'll finish it off today. I was going to save the colorless and other stuff, but there's barely any of those. So Kellen, Inquisitor Prodigy, is the only legendary... No, it's one of the 2. So this is 2 green, white, or 2 green, blue for a 3/4 human, fairy, detective. The story of this guy is great because he went from, like, a soldier doing what he was told to a soldier trying to go on an adventure, and now he's just having fun. He's just a detective. He's having fun. Human, fairy, detective, let's have fun. Green, blue, passionate, intelligent. So, adventure. For green and a blue, you can sorcery, you can go on adventure, investigate. You may play an additional land this turn. This is great as your commander. Just on turn 2, playing an additional land, getting that clue, sacking the clue, drawing cards, great. Okay? It's as a creature, you then cast it for 2 green, blue for 3/4 flying vigilance. And whenever it attacks, destroy up to 1 target artifact. If you controlled the permanent, draw a card. So don't sacrifice the clue. Just pop it on your turn. I like this because you're controlling the field. You're just attacking. You're hitting people. You can still block as a 3/4. You're popping stuff. I can see this being played in Standard all the time because 2 to just get that additional land and a clue is great. It's detective. I like this. I like this for a lot of formats. This and I think Standard and Pioneer are going to be great. Okay. Repulsive Mutations, X, a green, and a blue for an instant. Put X 1/1 counters on target creature you control, then count up to Then counter up to one target spell unless its controller pays mana equal to the power among creatures you control. I think it's fine. I don't love it. It's a decent counter. It's you can make it 0 and just counter and then pays mana equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. So if you have like a 3-drop, they have to pay 3. It's interesting. Undercover Crocodelf. Undercover Crocodelf. This is 4 green, blue for a 5/5 elf crocodile detective. When it deals combat damage to player, investigate. And then disguise is 3 hybrid blue green. I don't like it. I think it's fine. It's too slow. Vanifar Evolved Enigma is 2 green blue for a 3/4 elf ooze wizard. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one. Cloak a card from your hand, or put a 1/1 counter on each colorless creature you control. The cloaked cards are colorless. So this is interesting. I actually like this. This is total 100% elf deck. It is an ooze, which is kind of cool. I like how Vanifar is now an ooze, because it's just, that's what Simic does. They just never stop, even if it's messing with themselves. But it's cool, because what you're doing here is, oh, it's combat. I'm just going to cloak this creature. I'm just going to cloak this creature next combat, and then the next combat, and then the next combat, and then I'm going to put 1/1 counters on them, and I'm going to put more 1/1 counters on them, and make them big, and they've got wards. You're not touching them, and it's cool. It just plays itself. You're not in red, so extra combats isn't a thing, so just control the fail. And then another great commander here, Voja, Jaws of the Conclave, is 2 red, green, white for a 5/5 legendary creature wolf. Vigilance and Trample. Ward 3. When Voja, Jaws of the Conclave attacks, put X 1/1 counters on each creature you control, where X is the number of elves you control. Draw a card for each wolf you control. So this is just elves and wolves. Elves and wolves. Run a bunch of elves and wolves. You're going to draw a card for him no matter what, but you run elves and wolves, and no one's going to target because it's got Ward 3. It's got Vigilance, Trample, so it's hitting people hard. It's blocking. But when it attacks, X 1/1 counters on each creature for each, where X is the elves, and then draw a card for each wolf you control. It's got draw. It's got power. I like this card. It's fun. I'm going to build it. It's going to be cool. Okay, these cards. I don't like these cards because they're hard to read. I got to click on them. Push, pull. I like that we're getting these guys, by the way. I think they're great. Push, destroy target tapped creature. Pull for 6 up to... Put up to 2 target creature cards from a single graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. They gain haste until end of turn. Sacrifice them at the beginning of the next step. This is a great card. This is fantastic. A 2-drop to pop a tapped creature is good. And then later on in the game, being able to pull and grab 2 creatures that can just win you the game is also fantastic. So that'll see play in Standard. Maybe Pioneer. This one, Hustle Bustle. Target creature attacks or blocks this turn if able, which is fine. It's an okay card. Like, oh, you must block my creature, or you have to attack and I'll kill it. Bustle for 6. Creatures you control get +2/+2 and get trampled into a turn. You may turn a creature you control face up. That's fine. This is perfect. Bustle is a way to win the game with a bunch of your creatures. Hustle forces a creature to die. Cease Desist. Cease is 2 for exile up to 2 target creature cards from 2 target cards from a single graveyard. Target player gains 2 life and draws 2 cards. So like you hit the 2 cards they were targeting, and then target player, me, I'm gonna gain 2 life and draw 2 cards. Cool. I like this. I'm gaining life. I'm drawing cards, hurting my opponent. This is great. Okay. Desist. 6. Destroy all artifacts and enchantments. That's a great secondary effect. Cease is what you're really going for in this thing, but if they're running artifacts and enchantments, that's a great secondary effect. And you can run it in just a green-black deck, or just a green-white deck. You know, that's what's cool about these hybrids. Here, Fuss Brother. For 3, you're going to put a 1/1 counter on target on each attacking creature you control. So, you know, turn 3, you're attacking with like 2 or 3 creatures. They're all going to get slightly bigger. But turn 6, create 3 Thopters. Thopter artifact creature tokens with flying, and Surveil 2. That's really good. You're going to really see that be like, turn 6, let's get 3 Thopters, and I'm going to Surveil. Let's get rid of the cards I don't need because it's turn 6. Not a bad thing. And the last one here, that's the flip things, is Floatsome, Jetsome. Floatsome, mill 3 cards, and investigate. This is great if you're playing a graveyard deck. Mill 3 cards, get that clue. Very useful. Jetsome, 6. Each opponent mills 3 cards. Then you may cast a spell from each opponent's graveyard without paying its mana cost. If a spell cast this way would put into graveyard, exile instead. This is great. I even like this one in like Commander because of the Jet Sum. But they're gonna see play in Standard because they have the good low cost and then a good high cost, and that's what's great about them. Leyline, Leyline of the Guild Pack is a 5-color card, but you can also just play 4 green. And when and at the beginning, and if it's in your opening hand, you can just begin the game with on the battlefield. Each non-land permanent you control is all colors. Lands you control are have a basic land type in addition to the other types. This is seeing play in Modern anyway because any domain card loves it. Domain, I think it's domain. Loves the card. It's great. It's absolutely fantastic, to be fair. You're going to see it in 5-color commander decks because it just fixes your mana as an opening card. So it's great. You'll see it in a lot of places just to fix stuff. You might even see like 5-color decks in Standard because this card, you can run 4 of them and just drop it onto the field. Niv Mizzet Guild Pack is 5 for a 6/6 Dragon Avatar. It has flying and hexproof from Multicolored. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, it deals X damage to any target. Target player draws X cards. You gain X life, where X is the number of different color pairs among permanents you control that are exactly 2 colors. I tried to make this CEDH, didn't work. I think I gotta lower it down to high power still. The whole point is you're just running really good deck, but you just run a lot of 2-color cards to be able to draw up to 10 cards. Permanents is what you want, and exactly 2. So all the guilds, you just run them and get them on the field in an attempt to just break the game and draw a lot of cards, gain a lot of life, and deal a lot of damage to a target creature, to any target. So I like it. It's fun. It's an interesting commander. Colorless cards. Case of the Shattered Pact. 2 generic. When this case enters the battlefield, search your library for a basic land card, reveal it and put it in your hand and shuffle. That's fine. To solve, there are 5 colors among permanents you control. Okay, so this is a 5-color card. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gains flying, double strike, and vigilance till your turn. I like this. So in a 5-color deck, you'll see this in Commander. That's about it. I don't think you'll see it many other places, unless like a standard 5-color deck will play line starts popping out. Because giving a creature flying, double strike, and vigilance is gross. Cryptics is 2 for an artifact. Collect evidence 3 to add 1 mana of any color, and put an unlock counter on Cryptics. Then sacrifice Cryptics, surveil 3, draw 3, activate only if it has 5 unlock counters. I think this is overpriced and not great. Gravestone Strider is 2 generic for a 1/3 golem. Add 1 mana of any color, activate only once each turn. Exile it from your graveyard, exile target card from a graveyard. It's fine. Lumbering Laundry is 5 for a 4/5 golem. Pay 2 until the turn. You may look at face down creatures you don't control anytime, and disguise 5. It's not great. Magnetic Sniffer, Snuffler, is 5 for a 4/4 construct, and for an artifact creature construct, and when it enters the battlefield, return target equipment card from your graveyard to the battlefield, attached to Magnetic Snuffler. Whenever you sacrifice an artifact, put a 1/1 counter on it. I don't love it. I guess you can return equipment to get into it. I think it's slow. Magnifying Glass is reprinted. It's a good card. It's just good ramp spell with a good investigation. A good upside. Sanitation Automation is 2 for a 2/1 construct. And when it's the battlefield, you still surveil 1. Thinking Cap, it's unless you're playing the Sphinx that crafts it, I really don't care about it. Here's your lands, don't care. And your new lands, which are the Surveil lands, which everyone likes. I love these. You can fetch them easily. You can search for them with things that name lands. And they come in and you surveil one, which is great. Other than that, you actually have Branch of V2 Ghazi, which adds a colorless and has disguise. And when it's turned face up, add 2 mana of any 1 color. Till end of turn, you don't lose this mana as mana phases end. So it costs 3 to flip. So yeah, cool. You get 2 mana of 1 color, but like you'll spend 3. So Escape Tunnel is a new card, and it's great. It's a new Terramorphic Expanse. Tap, sacrifice a search your library for a basic land card. Put it on the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. But it also, tap, sacrifice it, target creature with power 2 or less can't be blocked this turn. So this is just instantly an upgrade to that. 100% power creep. But it's another card that people are just going to add to their deck automatically if it gets printed more. Public Thoroughface enters the battlefield tapped, but when it enters the battlefield, sacrifice unless you tap and untap. Artifact or land you control, add 1 mana of any color. I like that. That's fine. And Scene of the Crime is an artifact land clue. Enters the battlefield tapped, tap for colorless, tap an untapped creature you control to add a mana of any color, or pay 2 to sack to draw a card. That's the stuff. Out of all these, there's a lot of things I'm excited for, as always. But this one's going to be a lot longer than the other ones. Sorry for that long video. Thanks for watching. Everyone have fun at pre-release. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Catch my other videos. Peace.